Page 5 now. A defiant North Korea. U.S. military officials are in a tizzy. This after North Korea test-fired a missile that failed immediately. The launch came shortly after the U.S. and South Korea agreed on bolstering military and diplomatic efforts to counter the North's nuclear missile programs. Now, the failed missile launch was the 8th attempt in 7 months by the North. The U.S. is warning that any attack on American allies or use of nuclear weapons will be met with an overwhelming response. Now, the flare-up in North Korea is just another example of Obama's diplomatic failures. Joining me now from Southern California, political consultant and founder of the American Truth Project, Barry Nussbaum. Barry, is it just my imagination, or are we having a lot of trouble with foreign leaders across the world?
Well, Stephanie, you're not imagining anything. This is the result of 8 years of going backwards in foreign policy under Obama's leadership from the rear. Ironically, the situation in North Korea is a history lesson that the United States has ignored and has just repeated on an enormous stage in Iran. If you go back in history to Bill Clinton, you can pull the tape where he announced North Korea will never have nuclear weapons. They're joining the countries of the world. They're going to be part of the League of Nations, and they're inside the world family now. What's happened since then? We got a 50-foot middle finger from Korea. They said, we're going to build as many nuclear weapons as they want to, and our only response is sanctions. Meanwhile, they have missiles that can take these nuclear weapons around the world, and they threaten to attack America every week. Guess what? We did the same thing with Iran, and we made a deal that guarantees Iran will never have nuclear weapons. And the great irony is, the same person Bill Clinton hired to negotiate that deal with North Korea was hired by John Kerry and Barack Obama, and she was the lead negotiator in Geneva and made the same deal. It's the most catastrophic failure in American foreign policy history, and we did the same thing with Iran. So you'll look back in a few years and Iran has nuclear weapons with missiles, just like Korea has nuclear weapons with missiles, and all we're going to do about it is kvetch.
It's extremely alarming, and it's just interesting that the U.S. says that, they're going to have this overwhelming response if North Korea does it one more time. But this has happened so many times that North Korea doesn't take our country seriously anymore.
Yeah, we have the line in the sand Olympics, and we keep the rake on hand so we can clean the sand up for the next line in the sand we're about to draw. Nobody believes us around the world. Hey, look at Syria. What did we draw that red line 3 times and then said, oh, forget it. We're not even going to draw lines anymore because everybody knows we don't mean it. And honestly, Stephanie, we really don't mean it.
And we're starting to see a little trouble from the Philippines. The President Rodrigo Duterte, they call him the Donald Trump of the Philippines. He just announced that he wants to separate from the U.S. completely. So I'm not really sure how that's going to play out, because it seems like Philippines needs the U.S. more than we need them. But we also have a little bit of an explanation from the State Department on what's going on. Roll tape.
I just want to say that obviously we're aware of this rhetoric, of course, and we still hold that it is inexplicably at odds with the very close relationship that we have with the Filipino people, as well as the government there on many different levels, not just from a security perspective. We are going to be seeking an explanation of exactly what the president meant when he talked about separation from the U.S. It's not clear to us exactly what that means in all its ramifications. So we're going to be seeking a clarification on that. I would add that Assistant Secretary Russell will be in the Philippines, in Manila, this weekend. This trip was long scheduled. I don't want to give any impression that it was thrown on as a result of recent comments or activities. It was something he's been planning for months, but it does give us an opportunity in the context of these comments to try to get a better explanation of what was meant by separation and where that's going. The last thing I'll say on this, well, two more things. One, it isn't just the United States who is baffled by this rhetoric. We have heard from many of our friends and partners in the region who are likewise confused about where this is going, and also, we believe, are trying to learn more on their own about what it portends.
Yeah, Duterte is just not a fan of Obama, and he has said some very, very vulgar and rude things about our president. And you know, we laugh, but it's a very serious issue when foreign leaders don't take us seriously. And then we see that the Philippines, they're cozying up to China. That's kind of a problem.
Oh, my goodness. You know, in all of American history, I can't remember where an ally of the United States, the leader of that country, calls the leader of the United States basically a son of a whore. And Obama laughs it off and doesn't take it seriously, and that happened while Obama was over in the Far East. And since then, relations are going off a cliff. So you heard the State Department official for a couple of minutes say, I'm befuddled, I can't explain it. I think the explanation, Stephanie, is simple. World leaders no longer respect America because of our lack of leadership and our lack of a presence with a leader that projects strength. As a result, there's almost this, we can do whatever we want now because there's nobody there to call us on it. What's really curious is what those policies might be towards the United States come January, depending on who's at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. In the meantime, he's right. We have no idea. Why? Because nobody here is a statesman that's respected around the world. What we hear in the Philippines is we're hearing similar in the Mideast and the Far East and throughout Europe from leader after leader after leader, unfortunately.